How many times in just the last 10 days have you walked away from a conversation or a situation frustrated, knowing that the results that both of you had agreed to were not the results that were achieved, and you know there's more potential? How do you get them more engaged? How do you get the right outcomes? How do you help them to fulfill their potential? Is much more than just what comes naturally. We're going to answer those questions and a few more in today's PioneerCast. Welcome to the PioneerCast. I'm Dwayne Abels, founder and president of PioneerQ. Really excited about this particular series that we're rolling out today. 7 leadership indicators to help us all better maximize the relationships that we are choosing to surround ourselves with and to help maximize the individual potentials that we choose to work with on a daily basis. That sometimes can be over my head. To help us with that, we've brought in Dr. Charlie Cartwright. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's going to be awesome.
So for those of you who've been around PioneerIQ the last 4 or 5 months, you're probably familiar with Dr. Cartwright. For those of you who haven't, Dr. Cartwright and I started working together probably 4 or 5 years ago. He and I both had a mutual friend and peer, but also a mutual mentor, and got to know each other. And quite frankly, just a little bit of a background, he was pretty inspirational in helping us out with a second degree of leadership, which is the whole concept of loving the people that you're around enough to really understand their potential and to help put them in the right position to flourish. Big part of that. Now, again, I've appreciated that day after day as we've rolled that out with our customers and different folks that we're working with. So this particular topic is, to me, really critical right now, simply because of the magnitude of stress, variables, different disruptions, and a lot of the opportunities that are being shoved down our throats as leaders, especially in the design and construction industry. And we just did a podcast that rolled out this morning on the vaccine mandate for federal projects. But at the end of the day, we literally just don't have time to haphazardly approach relationships and not get the results that we need on projects or situations that are critical right now. So I'm hoping that you can give us a little bit of the science behind the relationships and how those work, and then jump into helping us understand what some of these specific leadership attributes are that we need to all be deploying to get those results.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's an exciting topic. And like you said, it's one that's really important, and we've got to be intentional. That's important. But also, if we know the activities, the things that we need to be doing as leaders, and we're going to be able to achieve those results right away. So this is going to be a 7-part series. I'm very excited about key leadership indicators. And this first one is about connection. Okay. And you and I have had so many discussions about this, Dwayne. As leaders, we need to make sure that we connect with an individual before we can lead them anywhere. But if you think about relationships, that's the foundation of relationships and human beings. And I love this slide here because it kind of touches on the complexity of who we are, and that now human beings are considered super organisms, right? Because we're made up of 37 trillion cells that are intelligent, right? And within those cells, we have this mind that we're all wanting to connect with. How do we do that? So human beings are so dynamic. When we understand how to do it, at that point, we can understand how to achieve those results in the relationships, through the relationships that we're looking for. So I get chills thinking about it because I am, as you know, a research nerd, and that's true. And I love research. And so coming upon this and putting the pieces together was so exciting, because we've all had that situation. We talked about it this morning. Hey, I talked to this guy. It's really important. We got to get this done. But that meeting didn't go the way I wanted. I don't think the message was came across, or the results weren't what we were looking for. And what's missing? And so this research kind of illuminates it. And this quote here, if you understand how the mind is designed, you can reach anyone. It's so critical. Well, how is the mind designed? Well, think about this. Human beings don't just have one brain. We don't have 2. We have 3. So the first one, we're all familiar with this one, cranial brain, something like in the neighborhood of 86 billion neurons. And then there's a left brain, right brain, right? So that's great. But then we've got the heart brain.
Yeah.
40,000 neurons. So this brain is small but mighty. Okay. And then the third brain is the gut brain. We've all heard that gut feeling, 500 million neurons. Okay. So the design of the mind is gut brain, heart brain, cranial brain make up one mind. And so in order to reach an individual and influence them, we need to reach them at all three brain levels. And when we reach them at all three brain levels intentionally, they make up their mind in a way that's favorable to what we were trying to accomplish. And we do that the right way, is sustainable, meaningful, and we get long-term results that we're all after. So that's what's so super exciting about this.
Awesome. You know, when you introduced me to this several months ago, it really resonated with me, just because, you know, you hear a lot of people talking about the cognitive and logical processes of communication, but you don't oftentimes hear a whole lot about the emotional side of communication or decision making. And you and I relate that back to conviction quite a bit. And I've even done presentations on the magical gut feel revealed, you know, but it's kind of interesting to hear the science behind the three brains. I love that analogy.
It's huge. And when we want to influence an individual, we want to build a relationship with an individual, we need to connect with them first. So think about your friendships, intimate relationships, personal relationships, business relationships. They all start with a connection.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that happens. So now if we take that same logic and go into the field in our organization, then our operations, hey, I need to connect with this individual first. Have I connected with them? And if not, how do I do it? And the fastest way, the most effective way, and the surest way is to connect at all three brain levels. And we connect at all three brain levels, we're going to reach them. And that's the magic of it.
Right. So I absolutely love numbered things, processes, systems. You know that about me. I love these 7 indicators. One of the things that we hear a whole lot about is when we're in discussions with people on how to maximize the potential of their team and the people on those teams, we get a little resistance sometimes to people thinking that there's a process or a method for human communications and human connection. But I think these 7 indicators do a really good job of communicating that. So I'm anxious for you to educate us on what those indicators are. Obviously, we're just covering the first one now, but I love that there's some specific things that we can intentionally do to better develop those relationships.
It's a huge thing. And when we're looking at a relationship, specifically one that we want to build and grow, the first question we need to ask ourselves, have I truly connected with this individual? And there's so many connection points. We have to figure out which is theirs, right?
Yeah.
It could be their family. It could be their faith. It could be their job. It could be their physical health. There is a connection point. And when we connect with them and start relating to them through that connection, then we give ourselves an opportunity to really communicate and really build something that's sustainable. And then our vision, our messaging, our mindset, our goals can be transferred that way. And that once we have an organization that has a vision, a purpose, when we connect with our people, that becomes their vision and purpose as well. But it doesn't happen until there's a connection. Otherwise, if I'm not connected to you and you tell me to do something or ask me to do something, people are thinking, well, I don't know you. Why should I trust you? Why should I do that?
Right.
Why? And I'm going to listen to you, and then I'm not going to do it.
So we're thinking the context of, I'm looking for some examples here, but in the context of an employee, right? So you've got a leader and they've got someone on their team, and ultimately they realize that, they're in the trenches, but ultimately there just hasn't even been a great connection built. They're probably really clear on what they need to accomplish. But typically a leader can feel, I had a conversation this morning where that leader said, I can just feel we don't have a connection. We may have had one in the past. It doesn't seem like we have one now. What are some practical ways for someone as a leader to connect with someone that's on their team?
That's a great question. And here's the thing. This is a real easy question that you can ask yourself. When your people are not at work, okay, they're driving their personal vehicle and they're doing their thing on the weekends or even in the evenings after work, ask yourself this: who rides in the backseat of their car? Who rides in the backseat of their car? And when you really think about it, people's most precious possessions ride in the backseat of their car. I'm talking about children. I'm talking about grandchildren, nieces and nephews, or pets. And if you don't know who rides in the backseat of their car, then you really don't know them as an individual, okay, as a human being. And you need to get to know them. All right. And so now I need to get to know Dwayne. And now Dwayne has 3 boys and they're into hunting and fishing and hiking and sports. And then we have a foundation to kind of build upon our relationship. And then guess what? I'm showing you that I'm interested in you, right? In your family. And that's a huge thing, because the number one indicator on whether an employee chooses to be engaged, because it's a choice, okay, is whether he or she believes that their direct manager, supervisor, leader cares about them as a human being.
Interesting. So you're literally saying, fundamentally speaking, in order to connect with someone, we have to understand who they are as human beings, their family, their greater situation outside of work, in order for them to feel like, or to think, or to perceive that we genuinely care or understand them.
Exactly. As a human being, we care about them. And so when we do that, we reach them at a heart level, we reach them at a cranial brain level, and we reach them at a gut level. And now all of a sudden they're open to our communication. They're open to our message. It's huge.
It's interesting. You just made me think about the Royals. You know, a few years back, we won the World Series, and I say we like I played. They won the World Series, but it was a really exciting time. And one of the things that has been interesting to learn about them subsequently is that I think Hosmer had mentioned we were recruited to play on this baseball team because we had a lot of talent, but we continue to stay on the baseball team because we know they love us. You know, and Dayton Moore talks a whole lot about what you just said, him really understanding the men behind the talent, right? More so than just the talent. And so I think that's a great point. Very interesting. Thanks for bringing that. So we're going to bring you the next 6 indicators here over the course of the next several weeks. If everything works out correctly, I think we're going to actually shoot the second one in Denver next week while we're at the DBA National Conference. So we'll have some fun with that. Hopefully over the course of the last 15 minutes, you've picked up something that'll help you to better develop your leaders or help us scale your business. Until next time, make sure now more so than ever, your entire life needs you more than ever. Have the courage, lead on.